Good afternoon, everyone. This is Joe Randacci of Two Vintage Sports Guys. Welcome back to another episode. We did our Dirty Dozen. Now we'll go for the Baker's Dozen with number 13. Passing it over to my partner, Mr. Paul Gallagher. What's going on, Paul?
Hello, Joe. Lucky number 13. That's great. I'm glad I can bring you such luck on a Monday night.
So 13 is lucky in Italy. So there goes that for the Italians, but I don't know what it means here for us.
Born on the 13th, so it's not that unlucky.
Are you?
But I hate to interrupt. Please go.
I really don't like that number now. So, okay, so let's talk about little MLB. We're a month in. We're a month in, and both your Philadelphia Phillies and my New York Mets coaches should be fired. Coaches, manager, front office, the guy who waters the lawn, everybody needs to go.
Players, fire everyone. I love what the Red Sox did. They cleared house. Everybody talks about it, and the Red Sox did it. I think I watched Portnoy talk about the owner needs to be fired. He didn't stop. So maybe that's true. I'm not sure. But yeah, I live in Atlanta, as we talked about, and I went and paid hard-earned money to go see the Phillies yesterday at the Battery, which was a lovely complex in Cobb County, where the Braves moved to a few years ago, and they got crushed. Nola, who I was reminded by the gentleman next to me was great for Team Italy in the WBC. That did not translate over to the MLB season, where he can't get out of the first inning without giving up runs. So how
your
many millions?
Your Irish brogue is talking about the Guineas here. This is racist.
Well, that's I just said he was playing for Team Italy, and he did very well. I thought this was going to be an exciting season, that we had Aaron Nola back. We had Wheeler come back on Saturday, which we did win. But I think it's a combined $1 billion. What do we have? We have 300 million each, 275, $500 million combined.
And that got us 18 wins and 38 losses combined.
I mean, the Red Sox can't be too far. You probably chicken another 200 million. So there's 700 million. We could start a small country and do very well, or we could pay guys to go 0 for 3.
Red Sox are 11 and 17, so there's 6 games under 500. Phillies and Mets, you're 10 games under 500. Yes, do you have a whole season to go? But to get back to just 500 is to win 10 more games than you're going to lose over the next 3 months. So if you play a month, 22 games a month, 23 games a month.
Yeah, it's painful. It is painful. I think the saying is you can't win it in April, but you can certainly lose it.
You can. So they're going to have to fight for a wild card. And if you look at the league in the Central, in the East, the Milwaukee Brewers are in last place, and they're 14 and 13. The Colorado Rockies, who just swept the Mets, are 13 and 16 in last place. So what's my point? If everybody's going to hover near or just below or above 500 all year, it's going to make for even the wild cards are going to be tough for the Phillies and Mets to get back into this thing.
And I think that's what other sports, I know NFL, they love the word parity, right? So if you have a 14 and 13 cellar dweller, well, that's parity. He's okay. I don't think anybody thought the Milwaukee Brewers were going to be in last place. Now, does that mean we're turning the page on some teams? Are some teams getting too old? And some teams' formula is not working? I think we're seeing that in hockey. Some of the dynasties are starting to lose. Edmonton goes down 3-1 to the Anaheim Ducks. The Pittsburgh Penguins down 3-1 to the Flyers.
There is some age there, but
there's age in Tampa. Are we seeing that across the board? Are we getting to the NFL's level of parity, which they just love everybody gutting each other and having a 500 record? So it's very depressing.
Parity. Yeah, parity's not the thing here. You and I Phillies and Mets. I think I'm the top payroll, and you're number 2 or 3, or we're in top 3. So top 3 cannot buy you 10 games under 500, 28 games into the season.
Yes, but it is only April. And so we will go on a 5-game winning streak. It will come back and claw back, and there will be a fight. They'll be playing some meaningful games in August and September. So
I disagree.
will they
I'll
make
bet you
it?
another one. I'll bet you
So
another
they're
lunch on that.
well, you're the pessimist of us two. And so of
And you're the
course you're
optimist. So
based
let's find the
you're
realist in the middle of us and see where we are come
I
August and
think the
September.
realist is, that we can do better than the Washington Nationals. That's realism.
I don't know. They were
And that
playing
the
back. Them and the Marlins at 13, 15, 13, and 16, and they'll hover there all year. But we will see. But
let's
all I
see.
know
Let's see what
is
the young kids can do. Let's see who comes out. Um,
talk to me about
it's
your
early.
Phillies. Well, how many youngsters are on that roster right now playing?
Well, no, that's the point, right? It might be an old team. Alec Boehm can't be considered a youngster. They brought up a center fielder um, to play yesterday, who's a young guy. They did bring up a guy in the outfield, Felix Reyes, who can hit home runs, but they are an older team. Harper, Schwarber, Boehm, Turner. They're not spring chickens anymore. So is the curtain drawing, and we're going to have a long 3 years ahead of us, 4 years in some people's contract case, until it's mediocre. And so yeah, they're not getting
See,
any
I
younger.
don't think the Phillies, and I can't tell you everybody they brought in, but the Mets, they chopped their core, right? Pete Alonso is not doing well in Baltimore. Nemo's doing well in Texas. O'Neill's doing okay in Oakland. They bring in David Stearns, right? The GM there who thought he masterminded Milwaukee, and he was all right in the regular season, but they couldn't do anything in the playoffs for all his years. He brings in these bland Marcus Simeon, Luis Robert, like these people. They're lackluster, and this team had like no cohesion or mojo coming into the season, and it showed. This is like the worst. Again, the key is how much money they spent. Okay, the Mets are good at sucking. They've done this for like their whole like since 1962, right? They've had like 3 moments of glory since 1962, but the payroll wasn't there. Like we're paying Juan Soto like $1 zillion,
Yeah,
right?
right.
With
Yeah.
like Lindor, like you could go how much money we're paying some of these people to have a 9-19 record. I know the Phillies are paying Harper and Wheeler and
Schwarber and Turner and Nola and Wheeler. Yeah, I mean they're paying everybody. So let's see what happens. It's not the end of the season, but it's not good at all. No. I don't know how many more times I'll pay to see them. But yeah, there's some other good teams out there, and maybe we're just seeing the baton being passed, would be my point. So
at the end of the day, this is just all fodder for the Dodgers to go have a three-peat because how do you beat that traveling all-star team come October again?
yeah, I don't know. I don't think anybody can. But they've listen. You can't blame it all on money because we're proving the point that we didn't spend wisely and we're losing. So it's got to be something else. And maybe you hit it. It's chemistry. It's being aggressive. It's clubhouse spirit. There's a lot of things to it that teams not put together, then they don't gel and they don't go on a roll. And let's not absolve the Red Sox of all their sins either. They fired everybody, so they're not doing well either. So, but
Yeah, but
anyway, it's puck job.
their payroll
Well,
wasn't there, and they still have 2 more wins than us, and they fired their manager.
I don't think
Like,
they're not light on the payroll though. I don't have the Google in front of me, but it's got to be above in the upper half of the league, I would assume. So,
I found it, and we're going back to it, and we were wrong in a bunch of places. So the Mets are number one at
okay.
333 million.
Okay.
Dodgers are number 2 at 297 million. So nobody even
Yeah.
cracks 300 but the Mets. Yankees are third. The Braves are actually fourth.
Ooh. Well, they're in
Toronto
first
is
place.
fifth. Yeah, Toronto is fifth.
High
And
taxes.
then your Phillies are sixth with 264 million. Red Sox are all the way at number 12 at 193 million. Just a little notable thing, the Rangers are number 14 at
First
185 million.
first place.
And and who do you think the last this is just incredible. Who do you think the last place team
The
in payroll
Marlins or the
is?
Pirates? We'll flip a coin and say the Marlins because the Pirates paid that guy Connor.
I'm impressed. You are correct. Now let's see
Thank
if
you.
you go for the daily double and tell me how much their payroll is this year.
62 million.
No, but close enough. 77.
That's pretty good for
That's
non-Googling. Pretty good.
insanity. 77 million
Well, so
compared
next
to the
year
Mets.
we can
Go ahead.
stay on baseball and talk about, are they going to be locked out next year? And will they have a salary cap, but also a salary floor so that teams like Florida and Pittsburgh and other bottom dwellers have to spend money? That'll be the big thing. We won't be sitting here next April even talking about baseball because they won't even be playing because they'll be locked out. So
So
there.
for years, I kind of took the owner's side that the players were paid too much to play the game compared to the owners who usually earned all their money out of industry and then bought a team and blah 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 blah. But we're at such a place that I don't care anymore. It's all out the window. And you know what? It should be now a minimum.
It should be a
So at
minimum.
least it's competitive for
Yeah.
parity.
Right. You should be a minimum. And all the players that complain and whine, well, their careers would be extended because they can go to Florida and be a DH and make a lot of money. They can go to Pittsburgh. They can go the the whole market. 10 teams who are spending under 100 million will be forced to spend anywhere between, at your number with Florida at 72. So they're going to have to spend 28 million more to reach 100 million. I don't know what the floor is, but it's going to bring in tens of millions of dollars that'll be reallocated. Not to sound like that, but um, there should be a minimum.
Well,
Absolutely.
so let's talk. Yes, there should be. Like, why isn't there? If you're going to put a league together, and baseball's kind of weird because it's the only real sport where there's not, what's the word, beyond parity. All things aren't equal, i.e., a basketball court, hockey ice, and a football field are all the same proportion. Well, not the proportion. What's the word? The dimensions are all the same.
Yeah.
As
Okay.
compared to baseball, you build whatever stadium you want. You want to put the Green Monster up. You want to put a foul pole at 290 feet away instead of 340 like some places.
Well, not only that, you can get your own media network. You got Yes up in New York, and you've got other media networks. You can generate your own revenue from having your own media network. There's merchandise. I mean, that's what makes the Shohei contract unbelievable is that they're selling more in Japan than teams probably sell merchandise, um, in total. And that's just one market. So you could probably do that in Seattle and San Diego and along the West Coast too. So they're creating markets and they're creating demand for their product by winning. So yeah, they shelled out a lot for Shohei, but they're making it back in spades with media dollars and merchandise in Japan.
But
Win-win.
yeah, but talk to me a little about what I'm saying. Beyond that, yes, there's definitely not parity with the stations and then what they could afford to pay and buy everybody like Yankees and Yes, etc. But if every other major sport plays with the same dimensions,
Okay.
first of all, right? Football for the most part is outside. Yes, we have indoor stadiums, so that little. But I guess my point is, if you are the New York Yankees with a short porch in right field, you look to sign left-handed hitters
Yeah,
that are going
true.
to hit more home
True.
runs,
Yeah.
right? So you're doing things per your stadium for your team,
Right.
right? Like the Mets built their new City Field back in 2009, I think, and they literally hit much less home runs that they thought, that they brought the fence in on the new
Yeah.
stadium after they
Right.
designed it, like 2 years later, so they could hit more home runs.
You could even look at teams like Colorado that play up in higher elevated thin air. And so more home runs should be leaving that park. So why don't we go out and sign, 6 Kyle Schwarbers that just hit home
Correct.
runs, right?
Correct.
You could
So
look at it a bunch of different ways to make your team more competitive than the others and give them an advantage. And then there's other little things like, taxes in some states. If you could play in Texas or California, I bet you'd choose Texas because you're going to make X amount dollars more because you're not paying high income tax. That I know that works in Canada as well. So
so we agree that there should be a floor
minimum, yes,
that doesn't
absolutely.
have a disparity of 260 million between the last place payroll Marlins and the first place New York Mets. And those Marlins are ahead of my Mets and your Phillies right now.
Yeah, we could solve everything probably in a dispute. So we'll hope that we have baseball next year. It'll probably be delayed, but we'll hope. And this year we'll hope that our teams get back to winning, and somebody does something, and we find the next stars to root for. So with that, we've got basketball playoffs. We didn't even get to the third major sport, basketball. We had the draft this past weekend, so we're going to have to do another show. We had the draft this past weekend. Not a lot of players that I saw that were big name players. I think the Rams made a weird decision in drafting a quarterback at number 13 overall, and probably not the way I would have gone or the way I would make up a team when they're that close to making the Super Bowl. They should have probably gotten Makai Lemon or somebody else that's impactful. My Eagles stole Makai Lemon. Speaking of him from the Pittsburgh, I don't know whether you saw he was on the phone with the Steelers and the Eagles made a trade with Dallas to pick in front. So while he was on the phone getting told he's been picked by the Steelers, the Eagles picked him and swiped them right out. So what do we have? We had the draft. We had
Well, hang on with the
NFL top
draft.
scrum.
Hang on. I got
Oh,
something with the
I
draft,
interrupted.
which I don't think we talked about. I think in just like last year's draft where Deion Sanders' kid, it's
Oh,
escaping
Shador.
me, this, what
Yeah,
was his name?
Shador. Yeah, Shador.
Yeah, Shador. Went, what did he go, fifth or sixth round, right? After he was
Oh, yeah, it was
projected to be
bad.
first round.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
who is this year's Shador Sanders, who went undrafted, the
So
quarterback
it's a little
from
fella.
Vanderbilt?
He's a little fella named Diego Pavia,
Right.
who's who went
Who said he
undrafted
was
now.
6 foot and they measured him at like 5'9".
Yeah,
So,
on a good day, he might have had heels on too. So,
well, if you jump up in the air and, like, so
but
six,
I don't know though. I actually think that not only was it height, his
this is
attitude wasn't the best.
attitude, baby.
Ooh, ooh. Yeah, he doesn't seem to be a genuine fella. But there was a lot of good stuff. I know the Eagles took a gentleman from Nigeria that's never played football before, and he's 300 pounds, 6% body fat, runs a 4.6. Never
What
played the
position?
game.
What do
Never
they
played
put?
defensive end. They'll put him on the defensive line, and he'll be an end rusher. Never played the game. Got drafted. We've done the same thing before. The Eagles, new program. NFL's trying to broaden its base everywhere. They have programs in Nigeria and Europe, and they have more games in Europe, and they're really doing an outreach. But to circle it all back,
Well, hang
Topps
on. I got a
Chrome.
question on you with that
No,
'cause I
you
didn't, I
keep
didn't hear that
interrupting me.
story.
Oh,
How do you get drafted having never played? What do you do? Do you
there's some.
declare yourself for the draft? And is there any criteria to be accepted to declare yourself for a draft?
No, you can declare. I think the NFL has a program in certain countries in which they have a developmental funnel and they promote gentlemen. and you go to the combine. And if you go to the combine, which this guy did, and he ran a 4.640, that puts up a lot of green flags. It's the numbers. So yes, you declare yourself, you go to the combine, you get into the funnel, you make yourself name, you hire a good agent, and then you get drafted. So that's
What
it.
round was he drafted?
I think we got him in the seventh round out of 7. So last round, but he spent capital on him, so they have a vested interest to make it go. So, so we'll wrap it up with, we've got NBA playoffs. We've got Bowman basketball cards that have hit the market, and that's really the biggest product. I saw product for $1,200 a box coming out the door. So that's a big one. We've got the playoffs going. We've got Bowman basketball. We've got Topps Chrome football still going out. I pulled a Matthew Stafford MVP card, so that means that I can trade him in for some money. So redemption, I can do that, and that's about it. Let's get back to playoffs. Pucks drops in 1 minute, so I think we're gonna go.
All right. Well, we'll just call it there. Say goodbye, Paul.
Goodbye, Paul.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, you should say lady. Maybe my wife might listen to this, but gents, have a great night, and we shall see you soon. Bye-bye.